numerous hotels, restaurants and bars along the street. Countless towels, flip-flops and different languages on the beach. Antalya in August is at its touristic peak. Almost 9 million people chose the Turkish city as their holiday hotspot in 2008. 1.5 million tourists are currently in town, and with them the cliff diving elite to compete at the only stop of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series 2009 on Asian soil.
This is now already the second part of the series, so in other words, it's a fifth stop. We are past the halftime, and Orlando Duque has a very good lead. He's won 3 events and was second in another. Orlando is from Colombia, but has been living in Hawaii for the last many years. A lot of feeling, also a lot of experience. He's been 9-time world champion. Gary Hunt from Great Britain, younger diver, has a really good diving background, does very hard dives, and definitely a contender. Artems from Russia, also a younger diver, very good technique, really tough competitor as well, and no fear at all, as he got married just recently and brought his new wife with him here to this event. Andre, older diver that has a lot of experience, never trains. When it counts, he's still there, always at the event. Steve Black from Australia, has a wife and kid in Brazil, hasn't really seen him at all because he's in diving shows all over the world. A lot of experience, also an older diver, incredible entertainer, always does funny things on the ramp, and people love him as far as just watching and doing little air guitar.
Standings after 4 of 8 stops. Colombian diver Duque is in the lead. Gary Hunt from the UK is second, and kickoff winner Ignatenko from the Ukraine is tied in 3rd place with the Russian Silchenko. The often cited separation of divers in 2 groups, the perfectionists versus the daredevils, is about to reach a first peak. Orlando Duque, figurehead of the first group, starts to feel some pressure. The up-and-coming generation try harder dives. As soon as they start working out, it will get difficult for the experienced divers. However, there is still some way to go.
If we do a new dive, it's something we've been thinking about for a long time, visualizing it, both like imagining what it would look like to see it from the side and also imagining what it would feel like to do it. And then it's a matter of breaking down the dives into different parts. And so the most important thing we would do is maybe go to a 10 meter or a 3 meter and just practice the first part of the dive. Like for instance, Gary, when he did a back triple with 4 twists, he just worked on his start off a 2 meter platform with 3.5 twists. And then since he already does it with 2.5 twists, he just knows to do the same start, flip it around, granny out.
I'll think about what I think I can do and constantly go over it in my head. Try and imagine myself in the dive, what I will see, and then try and imagine looking at myself doing the dive to see how it's going to feel. And then you go over this 100, 200 times so that it's almost like you have done the dive. You know what it's going to feel like.
The Englishman is about to try a most spectacular dive here in Turkey, one that has never been done before, not even in Olympic diving.
Well, I think the situation in the series right now, it's getting to a very difficult point. I mean, I'm leading, but there are the guys are doing very difficult dives. And also, not only the ones that are doing difficult dives, but the other guys are getting very comfortable with the height now, and their dives are hitting much better the water. I think that this new situation with all the divers doing more difficult dives, doing new dives, it is going to change the sport, because you cannot sit down and let everybody else get ahead of you as their dives get better. You have to keep up with them.
Orlando Duque has dominated the scene for years with all his routine and excellence, but will he also be able to cope with the new weapons of the young guns? With the approach of the 5th competition within the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series 2009, 40,000 people gather along the beach and the nearby cliff range where the platform has been built during the last days. Probably the most massive construction the series has seen so far, However, the weather seems to be under a witch's spell. Perfect conditions during the preparation days with no wind and a blue sky from dawn to dusk. The competition day shows a different picture.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Antalya, Turkey, and another glorious location. It's the 5th round of the Red Bull Cliff Diving Series, and I think once again we're going to have a really tough competition. So let's talk about the weather conditions. The water temperature is about 30 degrees, which should make for a nice, easy, soft landing for the divers. However, I've been speaking to them, and they've been saying that when they hit the water, it's a really strong impact. We're not quite sure why. Maybe it's a lot of salt content, and listen, we don't know. More particles in the water. So the other thing is the wind. It's not too bad. It's fairly light at the moment. We can see a storm coming in, and we just hope that it doesn't affect the competition. The main thing I want to talk about is the heat. The last 3 days, it's been 36 to 40 degrees with high humidity. So some of the divers are really feeling the effects of fatigue from the heat, but they need to ignore that and fight it and stay focused for their dives. If they allow that fatigue to affect them and lose concentration, hey, they could have an accident. They need to stay focused.
No matter how hot or cold the outside temperatures are, the divers need to do some stretching and prepare mentally for the short but intense flights that are about to come. Down by the sea, the spectators on the boats and in the water also seem to be perfectly prepared, welcoming and cheering at the diving dozen when they present themselves on the platform. In the first round, the divers have to perform a dive with a fixed degree of difficulty of 2.4. As the level of diving has permanently increased during the last competitions, the performances are at a similar high level, and the Colombian series leader is tied at first place, together with the 25-year-old Russian Artem Silchenko after dive number 1. The fight for the top positions gets tighter at each stop, and each diver has his own way to cope with the situation. This man has shown the most difficult dive which exists at the moment during training session. He has done it fairly well and forces some of the top divers to rethink their strategy. On 3rd position after round 1, the Englishman unfortunately missed out on his second dive when entering the water with a big splash, and only a high score in the 3rd round will keep his dream for the podium alive. If his new dive works well, as on Friday, he will steal everybody's show. Is he the man of the future? The oldest diver in the series is also one of the most experienced. His usual training height is 5 meters, and one of his characteristics is that he only dives from 26 meters in competitions. Maybe he needs a huge crowd to get into the mood. With an official number of 40,000 spectators, Dre Ignatenko doesn't need a high degree of difficulty to show an almost splashless entry. The US American lies on 9th position after heat number 1, and he's not at all happy with it. He presented a new dive in Dubrovnik and has worked on the lead-ups till then. Looks as if he did not enter fully vertical. He still likes routine, something that comes with experience. Czech diver Mikhail Navratil will do exactly the same dive as De Mont before him. A front triple somersault and a 1.5 twist pike. Being on an upward trend and after a good training session, his solid performance was not a mere chance, a promising 4th place after this round. The Ukrainian was disappointed by his performance in Italy 2 weeks ago, 11th place only. He's famous for his perfect pike position and has a good position in the air. But no sign of lelekawa, an old Hawaiian expression for leaping feet first from a high cliff into the water without making a splash at the entry. He's out of the game. This competition will remind him of Italy. This back belongs to probably the most fearless diver on the tour. He doesn't care if he dives from 24 or 30 meters. Artem Silchenko is only 25 years old and has already once won the World Championships back in 2006. Sharing the lead position with Orlando Duque after the first round, the newlywed Russian plays his signature dive in the second round. Taking off from the platform from the handstand position is not everybody's cup of tea. However, Silchenko controls it perfectly, gets good scores, and takes the lead after the second leg ahead of his contestant from Colombia. Mikhail Navratil from the Czech Republic is really improving from stop to stop, as well as the two Frenchmen, both in the top 7. Gary Hunt mulled his second dive, but don't write him off, he's still the insider tip for victory today. And Eba Pava, the second Colombian, might still have a chance to move up with a good third dive. Ever tried a handstand on the ground? Not an easy task, but imagine to rely on your arms 26 meters above it.
I do handstand because I like adrenaline upstairs on the platform. If you stand and you must do it, you must do arm stand. This is just on yourself. You must do it. You must feel just arm and your body. And after push from platform and just waiting and rotation, and I like it.
It also depends on which way the wind is and how the wind is. If it's just a consistent gusty wind, it's okay for us. But if it's on and off wind, then you're pushing and all of a sudden the wind stops and then you're like, ah! So it varies, but most of the time we try not to think about it because then it freaks you out a little bit. So.
Well, the training is very similar to gymnastics training. It's less in the pool and more in the gym. You just need strong shoulder muscles, good balance, and it's just practice. My coach told me after 1 month I would have to go on 10 meter and do a handstand with my clothes on before I could dive off 10 meter, and if I didn't hold it for 10 seconds he would push me in.
My strategy, I don't do a handstand because I'm not enough strong, I think.
Because I think I like. Not so many people do handstand. I think jurists like handstand dive.
Well, the main reason why I don't do arm stands is I broke my wrist in 1992, and then I lost a lot of mobility. So like right now, this hand works okay, but I don't have any mobility on my right. And to do a good arm stand, you actually need good movement on your wrist. So that's the main reason why I don't do it. Also, I think I'm a better twister than anything. So from my feet, I can do twist, and it's a little bit safer standing. The weather conditions may change from one day to the next. So I just feel more comfortable standing on my feet and doing twist instead of doing arm stand.
Will the final round in Antalya bring any big changes? Artem Silchenko holds all the aces. He's in the lead and about to defeat the current dominator. Before the last heat starts, in the reverse order of the current standings, Turkish diver Erin Kutsutsu will perform one dive from the platform for the local audience only. He was hurt during training and forced to withdraw his start. He started high diving only in April and trained hard to be ready to go for today, only 4 months later. He'll be happy with this dive for sure. The crowd love him, and nevertheless, he obviously enjoys pleasing the crowd. Two days ago, I did my first dive. It was too fast for me, but my dive today was definitely in a good speed. The only problem was I couldn't finish my last move 100%, so there may have been a little splash during the entrance, but no big problem. It was quite a good dive. Back to the competition. Each diver still has one chance to improve and catch up.
Okay, so that was a really interesting 2 rounds. Everyone's expecting this really strong fight between Gary and Orlando. You know, Gary doing the really difficult dives versus the nice clean style of Orlando. But Gary missed his dive quite badly. He only got 5.5s and 6.5s on his second dive, which is really going to bring him down. Now, Artyom has performed really well, so now I think the competition is between Artyom and Orlando. Gary's got one really difficult dive to do in the 3rd round, so he could come back, but I think it's between Orlando and Artyom. But remember this, anything can happen. Anybody can miss their dive, anybody can nail their dive.
Having missed out on his 3rd dive in Italy, the Colombian gets another chance here in Antalya. He has performed this difficult dive only once in competition. Now is the 2nd time. Starting from 10th position, this is Iber Pava's chance to impress the judges. The best results so far for the 32-year-old.
Okay, so Eber Pava, that's only the 2nd time he's competed that dive. I think he did it quite well. The only thing on takeoff, he's lifting his chin a bit too much. In diving, it's best to keep your head nice and neutral, not too much movement down or up. On the entry, he's going over a little bit, causing some splash to come behind him. Not a bad dive, but not a great dive. He should be reasonably happy considering it's only the 2nd time he's competed this dive.
A historic moment is about to happen. 6.2 is the degree of difficulty for this dive. A back triple somersault with 4 twists, never done before. He was not able to fall asleep the night before as he performed the dive over and over again in his mind, and his muscles were tensed all night long and couldn't really relax. He's done it! Is it possible that the Englishman didn't produce any splash water?
There we have Gary Hunt. I just can't believe he's even trying to this dive. When I first arrived here in Antalya and he said, listen, I just tried a quad twisting back triple somersault, I just couldn't believe it. So that's the first time I've seen it for my eyes, and it's an amazing trick. I mean, that's a lot of action. On the takeoff, didn't really extend and didn't really jump through the platform enough, which you can see because he comes a bit close to the platform. But very nice entry. I'm just impressed that he just did that dive. Incredible. Just tell me how it feels to do this dive.
Well, it's a lot of work. You're constantly twisting, pike, and then the Barani is very fast. But I'm getting a bit more comfortable with it now. So I'll definitely be using it in the next few comps.
The audience are still impressed by Gary Hunt's dive and wondering how far he will get with it. Leading, quite obviously. 7 more divers are still to come. Among them, the series winner, Ignatenko and Duque. Steve Black of Australia is next. He had a moment of shock in the training session on Friday. He ripped the frenulum of his upper lip when entering the water and needed to see a doctor. Fortunately, he didn't need stitches and can compete, obviously enjoying the Turkish crowd and ambience.
There we have Steve Black. Now you would have heard that nice sort of rip sound, but unfortunately he's been deducted for a few things. One, he's too close to the platform. He's not jumping through enough. He's bringing his stomach towards the platform. The second thing on the bottom, he's just over twisting, and that's coming from twisting too early at the beginning. It all starts on the platform, so he needs to wait a little bit longer in the air before he starts his twist to help correct some of those problems on the bottom of the dive.
The terrace below the platform is still busy. Some divers are still to come. If one gets to see a Superman flying from the sky and landing in the water, it might have been this young man. He's a daredevil, gaining confidence in the competition as well. He enjoys the arm stand position and chooses it for his final dive. The risk is not rewarded too much, but it still seems to pay off for some.
Very spectacular backwards arm stand. The takeoff looked fine, but the only thing he did is he came out too early, which means that he didn't have enough rotation to finish off the dive. So what he did is he bent his legs, and now that's called a break of position. So the judges have to deduct some points off of that. Some of the judges didn't quite pick it up, but one of the judges did. So he got away with that, he was lucky.
Navratil lies on the sensational second position behind Hunt. Only 3 more divers to come. Dre Ignatenko is next. He has a very conservative dive on his list, but a perfect execution could still result in a podium finish.
At the beginning of the dive, the jump looked fine and maybe a little bit slow, but it looked like he was going to come out in that nice floating Barani move and nail the dive, but he just let it go too far. Line of vertical being here, he went past, causing a big splash, deduction points. Unfortunate. Seems like a lot of people are off their game today. Don't know, maybe it's too hot, who knows?
The Colombian is the second last to leave the platform. He needs to make up at least 8 points to overtake the Russian contestant Artem Silchenko. This is going to be a really tight fight for the victory. He's well known for his ability to handle situations like this. That's what he's known for. He cuts the water.
The beginning of the dive looked good, maybe a little bit slow, and I thought he was going to rip it, but he just looks a bit lethargic. He didn't really work hard enough at the bottom. From here, his body's in this position. He needs to bring his chest up into the vertical position, but too slow and a bit too lazy and let it go by. Once again, I think the fatigue is affecting a lot of people.
Antalya is the Russians' favorite holiday home, and those who are amongst the spectators will now be really excited. Only one man to go. He's going for the same dive as Orlando Duque before him, but one twist more, which means a DD of 5.8 instead of Orlando's 5.4. The dive looked impressive. What will the judges say? The diver seems to be happy with his performance. Or does he already know he's won?
Artem Silchenko, what a great dive. And we're talking about that rib entry, no splash, great sound. Artem just won. Now he just got married. So this is his honeymoon, and what a present for his honeymoon.
The jury agreed on this dive, 5 times 9. Artem Silchenko is the 3rd winner in a series competition. What a great moment for the 25-year-old from Voronezh, Russia. He was nervous in his 3rd dive. That's what he said in his first interview after his triumph. He felt strong and comfortable in the last days and saw a slight chance to win. He jumped at the opportunity and leaves Antalya as a winner. The fight for the overall victory is getting tighter and tighter.
For the next competition, I'm going back home. I'm going to train. I'm going to prepare my dives. As I said before, I'm not going to change my dives just for changing it. I don't want to do it more difficult dive just to do a more difficult dive. I want to do it right.
I was waiting for this moment all series, and now I'm here, and I won. My competitors were really strong, but today I was better, so I'll do my best in the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy. My second round I threw a little bit too fast, so it landed over. But the main thing for me for this competition was that new dive, and I landed on my feet, no pain, and it got me from 8th to 3rd, so I couldn't be happier.
Well, for me, that was nice to see a different result for the competition. I'm really happy for Artyom that he won the competition. It brings back another fight to the tour, which is what we want. You know, we don't want to see a complete domination by Orlando. So well done, Artyom.
Artem Silchenko won almost 20 points ahead of runner-up Orlando Duque. Great job. Eba Pava finished 5th after being last in Italy. Another great job. With some of the most impressive pictures from today, the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series 2009 says goodbye from Turkey. Moving up north, the 6th leg will take place in the German city of Hamburg on August the 29th.